Hey, everybody, it's Russ Fordyce from the Business Intelligence Group, and we're here with another winner's circle. This time I am with our judge and really our great friend, Harshit Kohli. He is from AWS, but he's more than that. He is from our advisory board for cloud computing. He's been a judge for like everything for about 2 years. He's one of our all-star judges, which more to come on that in the coming months. But he's one of those rare judges who really has all the expertise and all the knowledge and is sharing it with all of our nominees, which is really special. So welcome, Harshit.
Thank you. Thank you, Russ. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's an honor to have you on and to thank you for all the hard work that you've done for us and for the nominees. It's really special, like I said, to have expertise like yours, reading and scoring, cloud and AI and innovation nomination. I mean, who better to do that? So give us a little bit about your background and kind of what you're working on these days. Just give us a little bit of introduction about you.
Yep. Thanks. First of all, thanks for inviting me to this podcast. It's a real honor for me. So my name is Harshit Kohli. I'm a senior technical account manager at AWS. I'm based out in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I have around 15 years of experience in IT industry. So I started my career back in 2010 with Infosys Limited in India, Bangalore. And then since then, it has been a journey. So I moved on to Mercer, which is part of Marsh and McLennan. And then I moved to Tech Mahindra, where I was working for a telecom giant. And then from there on, I moved to the United States on a work visa. And since then, I again changed multiple employers. So I was working with Dechens Consulting and working for an automobile giant over there. And then with HP. And then before joining AWS, I was part of Cloudera's professional services team. I was a solutions architect over there. And I joined AWS in November 2022 as a as a technical account manager at that time, and it's been a fun learning and a good ride here at AWS. I've explored a lot being over here, and last year I got promoted to a senior technical account manager role, which was in itself a good achievement from my side.
Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And then on the education side, I did my bachelor's in electronics from India, and then I did my master's in information technology from University of Cumberland, Kentucky, in 2021. And right now, I'm also pursuing a doctorate in information technology, specialization in artificial intelligence from University of Cumberland as well.
Yeah, your experience is so broad and so dense. I mean, you've been in networks, you've been in data, and now you're in all this generative AI. I mean, you've been in uh, on the analytics side, infrastructure side. How do you connect the dots between all that stuff in these ecosystems?
So the first and the foremost thing I believe is I take the things as it comes to me. So when I started my career with Infosys, I was back then working for one of the government based projects where we had to deliver tax based solutions to the government. So I was part of the support team, and I was also applying some bugs on the existing code as well. So just to make sure that I'm able to fix those bugs and I'm able to release those, and I'm able to fix those as quickly as possible. So I think the journey started from there on, and I was engaged to take the challenges as they were coming through, and then I evolved in a lot of roles. Like I worked in production support, I worked in application support, and then I moved to a core developer kind of a role when I was working for Dechens Consulting. So I developed applications from scratch. I use the CI/CD models, use the DevOps best practices to deploy those solutions in a CI/CD way in an automated fashion. I wrote automated test cases as well. So that's where I got exposure to the DevOps side of the things, the cloud side of the things. And then from there on, I also started exploring the analytics and the real time streaming world as well. And then I again moved to the HP world where I was working and I was supporting their product, which is MapR Hadoop. And then again, a shift to Cloudera where I worked as a solutions architect and I was working in a professional services team. It was more of a task based kind of a thing where you get a requirement from a customer and you have very tough deadlines or a tight deadlines and you have to deliver the project in that. And then I moved to AWS. So that has been my journey. I mean, I'm taking things as the challenges come to me. And the best part about that is never saying no to anything which is coming on to me.
Well, you've had a front row seat of like in the enterprise of all these of the really the changing data strategies for companies. You were at Telecom Mahindra. doing telecom networks. And that was a very different kind of strategy for enterprises. It's all about communications and networking. And now we get into this generative AI. You've done Hadoop. What do you think's changed most about how organizations think about data?
So back in 2016, I'll say 2014, I'll say, when I was working with Tech Mahindra, I was part of their application support team doing production support. At that time, big data was still a very fancy word, right, to everybody. So if you want to store your huge amount of petabytes of data or terabytes of data into warehouses, it was a big fancy thing. And if you know that technology, you are like a superstar. But then those technologies became very usual because as organizations grow, they have more data, they have more things to chew on. And that's where big data analytics, data warehousing becomes super important, because you will need to have data warehousing solutions where you're going to store that massive amounts of data, right? So I think that's where the shift happened from moving from non big data kind of applications, or I can say the applications which are using more kind of real time data, towards the big data world. And that's where I learned why big data is important, what's the importance of big data. And then now, if you see the usual pattern, which is right now going on in the current trend, we all know big data. Big data is not a new word for anybody, and data is super important, and that's where things are, right? But how you can leverage AI, how you can build models, and how you can be very smart to query that data, it's all about generative AI. So it depends upon how smart your models is. The underlying data still remains the same. And that is where I've spoken in many conferences and many sessions. So the biggest benefit you will get out of AI model is when your data is meaningful, it is good, and it is solving the purpose what you want to, right? So the data is the core of your whole infrastructure, which will provide you the best results with the AI models. So the
Yeah,
data component.
people don't realize how foundational it is, right? I mean, it's your truth. It's not your model. It is the truth of your business, of
Exactly.
your customers. I'm reminded of a couple of movies. I think Contacts was one with Jodie Foster, and there was another one recently with Jeremy Renner where the aliens come and they don't know how to talk to aliens. But what's the common language between humanity and the aliens? And it was math and data, right? And so it's a common language. We know what to do with it. We know how to model it, and it's really, as you say, the generative AI side has really been it's just incredible at how fast this has turned big data into small data, really.
Yep. Yep. I mean, true. If I talk about an example, and if I quote an example based on this, so consider someone which has videos or which has audios in form of data, and they want to run a generative AI on top of it. They want to generate some insights. They want to see, okay, what's the trend? What should be a trajectory going forward? But those audios are a bit broken. They are not very clear, and the videos are very blurred. So generative AI is not that smart. It's going to mend your data and it's going to get the good insights out of it. It doesn't have that magic wand in its hand, right? So the basic requirement or the basic thing which everybody needs to understand is the way your data is, the models will produce that much amount of results. And this is a very core concept which everybody should understand.
Yeah, it is. It's like any network. It's like anything else, junk in, junk out. And it's really fun because the AI is really looking for that authenticity and the citable data. And if you feed it data, it's gonna run with it. Well, I've been really shocked. I've been talking a lot with nominees and corporations literally about our best places to work program, which we use an employee survey to generate the winners. And we give that data back to customers, to the nominees, and it's the most underutilized data because they didn't know what to do with it. And it was,
Right.
it's this big, ugly CSV file of data. And so I think last year after the program, I was working with some AI companies, maybe a year before, to try to help, customers, use that data, nominees use that data. And it just wasn't there. Now you literally copy and paste that data into ChatGPT at the free version and tell it this was an employee survey. And it's like a McKinsey consultant comes back and tells you exactly what's going on with your people. So it's so amazing at how it already interprets big data. I can't imagine how far it's going to go. What do you think's the biggest disconnect between getting companies to actually use these tools now for what they're capable of and kind of getting over that fear?
So there are multiple blockers the companies have. If I talk about some big giants which are from finance industry or from healthcare industry, for them data is everything, right? So the privacy matters to them a lot. And sometimes they have all those restrictions like GDPR and all those federal regulations and different kind of regulations which restrict them to start using these tools on a day-to-day basis. I mean, they could use them and at a minimal pocket size of things, but using it broadly and using it on most of their use cases is a big challenge for them because of the data privacy.
Are there not kind of private LLMs out there where they're kind of on net, where they're, deploying them inside of the networks?
There are. So, I mean, there are LLMs where whatever you query or whatever you instruct the LLM, the data still remains within your VPC or within your infrastructure. It doesn't goes out. But still, that kind of fear is still out there because the amount of power the AI models and these LLMs have, companies with such stake at risk, I mean, they're not going to use it immediately. I mean, it will take some time. I mean, the way these things get matured and we have tightened securities around them, tightened policies, they will start using it in bits and pieces. But that gradual shift will not be there. It will be a very slow kind of a shift which will happen.
Yeah, I worked for an infrastructure company, and the immediate reaction was you can't use it. It's off limits, and I totally get that. And you're dealing with, company secrets. You're dealing with, proprietary stuff that you do not want getting out, especially into the hands of sometimes a competitor. Depending on where you work. And the infrastructure, it's really interesting because you work so much with infrastructure. The generative AI is really starting to invade the infrastructure level. You've got Amazon Q and Bedrock. What are people misunderstanding about how this really fits into that whole infrastructure game? I mean, I saw it firsthand, but what are you seeing on that side?
So, from what I can say, and I've been using these products on a day to day basis almost in every task which I'm doing. And the biggest thing which the customers and folks need to understand is that these are things for making your job easier. These are not here for doing your job. So, there is a big difference between what is facilitating you versus what is doing things for you. So these things are a good facilitator, whether it is Q, Bedrock, or any other generative AI service. It is just to help you or facilitate those things at a broader level so that things can be more presentable, they can be more accepted, and they can be more clear and truthful, right? So it's not going to do this, okay, whatever job I'm doing right now, everything can be replaced by generative AI because nobody is going to trust entirely or 100% on the machine. There should be some sort of verification on top of it because there are hallucinations, there are biases, all those things need to be handled as well. And again, that's a very broad topic to go inside. But the way I will see or what I sense is that there has to be a bridge or there has to be an understanding from the customer community or from the user community that these things are for making your jobs easy or life easy. So this is how we should take it.
Yeah, I mean, businesses have always been looking for productivity gains, right? How can I improve basically revenue? AI is definitely getting us there. Right? I mean, it's definitely a force multiplier in so many ways. It obviously gives you yourself a productivity gain, whatever you're doing. You have expertise in something. AI can help you, extend that expertise, expand it. But it also really is an enabler of giving you expertise outside of your comfort zone. I've been dabbling with it and I'm starting to do things I never thought I'd be able to do. Being a data scientist. I'm not a data scientist. I'm a marketing person, salesperson, and a business person. And, those were limitations I had. There were things I wanted to do with the business that I couldn't do. And AI is now literally, you spend 6 hours with it and you spit out a project that, would have taken a data scientist, you know, probably
Yep,
days or weeks.
exactly.
So
A very
go
classic
ahead.
example is, let's say you are planning for a holiday. You're going to Europe or you're going to some other city in US, right? Earlier, what used to happen is you used to scroll hundred of websites, checking, okay, where I need to go, what I need to skip, what I need to plan. But now, as you said, I mean, ChatGPT is at your ease, right? I mean, you can just go and type that, okay, I'm going from so date to so date, I'm traveling for 7 days. Can you help me to plan what should I visit? What are the top destinations at that particular place? And it will give you a nice summary. You can export that to PDF and you can take a printout or you can just keep it as like a soft copy on your phone and you can just follow that, right? So all those things have been made very easy because I myself have juggled around in the past, like spending a week in finding out some top places in wherever I'm going for visiting or for let's say for tourism perspective. But these things are like readily available for you within minutes now.
It's really amazing. It's becoming so pervasive all over. I know there's also this kind of new trend I'm hearing, and maybe we'll have to evaluate it for cloud computing coming up. These models as a service. There's these LLM models as a service now for enterprises that are evolving. Do you think people will keep training their own models, or do you think they'll plug into foundationals?
It depends upon the use case. When you have bigger organizations where, as I said, you have privacy of the data is super critical, you want to keep the data within your realm, then companies might start thinking of having their own models because they don't want to expose the data. They want to make sure that they are using the models which is proprietary for themselves. So they could go that route as well. But I don't still see this kind of being hit with small firms because um, or small firms, or let's say firms which don't have that criticality of having privacy, right? So let's say if you are from education sector or some other sector where privacy is important but not that as super critical, where you don't store any kind of personal sensitive data within your realm, right? So you can easily adapt or you can easily test with these kind of services, or you can still rely on foundation models.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I would imagine that a lot of the folks with a lot of regulation, finance, healthcare, those types of things, I would imagine they're really going to be driving kind of those in-house models. And I can't imagine the big banks already don't have LLMs that compete with some of the big boys. It seems too obvious for them. So you have judged some of interesting submissions for us, like you said, from innovation and big awards and all the cloud stuff. What's something you see in those nomination that kind of makes you go like, oh, this is going to change everything?
So I remember a few months back, I was judging the Cloud Computing Award and Artificial Intelligence Award. So I'll name both the awards, and some of the entries in those awards were, I mean, top notch. So there was somebody who was proposing a solution for managing the agriculture crops, and they were proposing like how you can make sure that what crops have to be grown in which season, how much amount of water they need, and they will suggest farmers based on the predictions, right? And they will suggest farmers that okay, for this particular season you need to go grow these crops and this is the amount you will get once you start selling this much amount of or this much quantity of crops in the market. So it's just like a report which will be given to you initially before you are going to work on those crops. So I think that will be a real big kind of a big kind of an achievement for the farmer community because we have always seen like farmers struggle a lot because of the weather and all those things. I mean, although because of the growing trends in the market, they are using latest technologies right now. They have weather predictions which are giving nice predictions and accurate predictions, but still in some I'll say not 100% of the things are perfect. So there are still some exceptions which can be made perfect using those solutions. And
Yeah,
then
I
in
think
terms of cloud computing, yeah, sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
No, yeah. So I was saying I was also looking at the cloud computing and the way there were some solutions where people were proposing that if they're planning to move from on prem to cloud, they are going to optimize their resources. They're going to save on costs, which the company can invest on some other productive kind of things like generative AI or some other things. So those kind of things are very good because I know still there are many enterprises which are still running on prem, and for them to go to cloud is like a multi-year project. So for them these kind of solutions will really be a hit solution.
Yeah, and if you had you've been around all this space so long, and on the infrastructure side, and now on Gen A side, if you could kind of give companies looking into getting kind of doing more than having Chat GPT on their desktops. If somebody was needing a roadmap, how would you kind of guide them through that journey? Kind of, what are the five kind of building blocks to do a project right, kind of get going.
So I'll say the first and the foremost is that right now we have very good generative AI productivity tools, right? So if you want to write a code, gone are those days where you'll have to write the code from scratch by your own hands, right? So they can train and they can start training their development teams to adapt those products and start using those products for making their delivery more reliable and more robust, right? Because if they are using those products for doing automated testing or let's say fixing the codes, pushing releases faster as expected, right? So all those things are going to improve the product delivery and increase the customer trust in the products as well, right? So that could be one of the starting points. Second point is using these AI tools for operations, right? There were challenges where operations or support teams were also finding challenges to troubleshoot or like going to the root cause of the problem. Now you can use those AI tools or various foundation models, which can help you to find out or provide you a solid direction on how you can start the troubleshooting. And that again is tied to increasing the customer trust because if you are resolving all the problems faced by your customers are happy and they will always stick to your product, right? So that is second. Then right now I'm also seeing an uptick of users who are designing neat and very detailed architecture diagrams using generative AI models, right? So gone are the days when you were using some kind of PowerPoint or let's say other kind of tools where you had to sit for hours, drag and drop multiple pieces and then draw those diagrams. Now you can use various LLM models and you can just provide them what you need and you can get the architecture diagram like what you want. So that is one other thing. And then into every sector, like into big sectors, like for example, marketing, right? Marketing, sales. So sales, boosting your sales is one thing where you can start exploring generative AI because it can give you a projection. Like you were at X last year, now you're at Y this year, and what will it take for you to go to Z next year? And it can prepare a nice strategy for you, which you can validate with the stakeholders and then can start working on it. So to me, it sounds like these should be the core pillars where companies can start in bits and pieces. They can start with leveraging these within their development teams, operations team. And again, nobody is after anybody to completely use AI in everything. Not everything can be AI. There are certain use cases which are tied to AI, and that is where we should start exploring. The biggest pillar which is tied to everything, all those things, is education.
Hmm.
So what we need to make sure is whatever customers, whatever users start leveraging AI, they should start cross training and training their teams in terms of these AI models and AI products. They should not fear uh, that okay, what if I start learning this AI, will it is it going to impact my job or is it going to take away my job? But rather, on the opposite side, they should have confidence that if I'm going to learn AI, my productivity will increase X times, right? So that confidence people have to give to their employees or their colleagues, and that is going to help them a lot.
Yeah, your education comment is so dead on. It is so important that these tools don't become just a magic button, right? It can't be a magic button. We have to know how they work. We have to know how they operate, or else they become masters, right?
Correct. Yep.
But it is really telling. My son's in IT, and he went to a trade school for IT, and that trade school has really flipped their curriculum now, and they're going more towards artificial intelligence and its
Nice.
impact, and so they're starting already to do it at a local level into the high schools, and which I was so glad to see.
Nice.
During his tenure there, I was shocked at some of the stuff he was still being taught. But they're doing a big shift because I think that the IT guys know that the world has just shifted.
Yep. Yep. And this also reminds me of an interesting topic. I was talking to my wife a few days back. My daughter, she's a 6 years old, right? So she's going to the school, and right now the kind of curriculum shift I even see in schools, it's a massive shift, right? So back when we were studying in school, things were more working on a legacy model, and now if you see most of the things have taken format. Either you are getting apps for working on certain things, whatever notifications are coming to you, they are coming to you in form of, let's say, soft copies, notifications via apps. And then they're also moving towards generative AI, right? They're also starting to use AI models, which can help them to be more productive in their operations. So that's a major shift, I'll say.
Yeah, and I talk with teacher friends of mine, and just the impact of AI on education itself, of how we're going to learn, is just going to be so interesting to watch over the next 50 years that I'm around. It's going to be just so different. Well, Harshit Kohli, thank you so much for joining us on the Winner Circle. Really great conversation. Thank you for all your leadership in AI and on the judges. It's really been a pleasure knowing you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Russ. Thanks. It's a real pleasure to be part of this. Thank you.